The charity group GiveSendGo, which has been helping to fund the Freedom Convoy movement in Ottawa, Canada, has been hacked and their website is currently down. Don't believe me? Here I am on DuckDuckGo trying to click onto their website and boom, you get the 404 not found error message. By the way, welcome to my channel. This is Bruce the Boss, and if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, go ahead and smash on that subscribe button. Your subscriptions go a long way with allowing me to produce and put out new content. And they tried to say the revolutionary won't be televised. I remember hearing that growing up. Your subscriptions go a long way with allowing me to not allow that to happen. And if you're already subscribed to this channel, don't forget to smash on that notification bell so you can get notified of my latest content, as YouTube does have a history also of not reminding my current subscribers of some videos every now and then. So just double check that, and don't forget to like this video, comment on this video. Now, this is pretty disturbing, especially this being less than 24 hours after Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau declared emergency orders just to combat this peaceful protest in the form of the Truckers Convoy or Convoy 2022 in Ottawa. Now, I don't think that this is just a coincidence, because what happened was you had a number of freedom-loving Canadians, particularly truckers here, who are just against the mandates. I believe Canada as a whole is 90% vax, so this isn't anti-vax. They're not against the vax in and of itself. They're against the mandates and the assaults on the freedom of choice and the freedom to choose, especially with truckers who, by the very nature of their occupation, they are self-isolated in their cab, their trucker's cab. They're not surrounded by anyone. They're on the road by themselves. Why do they need to get jabbed, particularly just across the, to and from the border? This is about freedom. And though they tried to diminish this movement as a fringe movement, it got millions of dollars of support. In fact, they were able to raise over $9 million on the Gofundme account. You don't raise that much money if you're a fringe movement, especially given the fact that that $9 million was raised in a relatively short period of time, whereas Justin Trudeau himself barely raised like $3-4 million for his campaign, and now he won, and they doubled that amount in a much shorter amount of time than his campaign. So who's the fringe now? And then the funny thing is GoFundMe sided with the Canadian government and decided to freeze all of the assets of the money raised, despite not having any real justification for doing so, and despite the contradiction of them allowing the riots of the BLM movement during the terror of 2020 and or the occupation of Chad or CHOP, whatever that occupation of those small communities and or neighborhoods throughout most of Seattle and or the state of Washington were, and or Portland, Oregon. They allowed all that, but this peaceful organization where there were no deaths, no acts of violence, no real criminal activity and or arrests, they froze the funds. They showed that they were on the side of the government and Big Brother. And so what GiveSendGo decided to do is like, no, you want, come here, send your money to us. And lo and behold, they were able to raise over, I believe, $6 or $7 million last time I checked. And despite Justin Trudeau and the Canadian government pleading with GiveSendGo and any other online community to not allow these funds to be sent out, but to rather follow suit with GoFundMe, GiveSendGo made a declarative statement over the course of the past couple of days where they said, no, this is a peaceful protest. We will continue to raise money and disperse it out to the organizers accordingly, because there's no proof that this is turning violent and or in any way, shape or form terroristic and or money laundering. Now, recently, Justin Trudeau did declare emergency action, declaring martial law on his own people, the working class. This could all be over, regardless of what your Canadian feelings are on the truckers movement and the convoy and the protests in Ottawa. This could all be over if he just acts like a leader, comes, meet with the individuals, meet with the protesters, have at least a conversation. He doesn't have to bow to their demand, but he can at least have a conversation, hear them out, and try to meet in the middle ground. This could all be over if he just decides to do that. Instead, he's digging in his heels and not listening to the people, trying to miscategorize them as racist, extremists, Nazis, and or Confederate lovers, violent, despite the fact that we have tons of videos showing that They're not disrupting the community in the same way the BLM riots did. They're not burning anything down, destroying any property, looting, rioting. There's no violent actions, no fighting. It's very peaceful. They're actually giving out food. That's what a lot of the money is used for. They have child care. They're giving away free services. They're just trying to make their voice known. And he refuses to at least acknowledge them. Last I recall, public officials are servants and or representatives of the people, not the other way around. The people are not the servants of the elected officials. They are supposed to represent the people. And there is really no reason for Justin Trudeau to be taking the hardline actions he has. And in fact, last I recall, there are at least 4 Canadian premiers in like Alberta and Ontario, just to name a few, that are against Justin Trudeau's emergency actions that were taken, which requires him to at least counsel with them. But they all agree, while they may not support the convoy doing what it's doing, they feel as though the emergency actions are just too much of an overreach. It is literally martial law. What's happening with the GiveSendGo website reminds me of a podcast with Joe Rogan that he did just a couple of weeks ago with an IT tech by the name of Dr. Robert Epstein, funny last name of all things. But he was talking about how things like this are not an accident, how there's such a great monopoly and or control of the information that you see online and who can control it. In fact, referring back to, I believe it was maybe 2008, 2009, the infamous internet crash that went down early one Saturday morning, how that was not some accident, but that was hackers just playing around and showing off their power, but doing it at a specific time and day when it would cause the least amount of harm and or attention. No trading was being done at that particular time, but just to show their power. Why? Because Google essentially controls everything, more or less. Whether it is because that's the predominant browser that practically everyone uses and most websites go through, and if Google wants to make the decision to flag a particular website and or account that goes against whatever agenda that they have going, they can just up and do that. And or even if you're not going through the Google or Google Chrome browser, most all other browsers rely on the block list that Google creates and sets up to determine whether or not if that website is safe and or potentially dangerous to your computer. Whether or not that's actually true or not, that could just be because Google has decided, you know, we don't agree with this content. It doesn't have anything to do with harm to your actual computer. We just don't agree with what's being produced on this site for whatever reason. Could be even political. If they put it on the block list, even if you're using a browser like DuckDuckGo or Mozilla, Firefox, and or if it's put on Google's block list, a lot of these other internet browsers will rely on that block list to see if it shows up. If it does show up, the site's not going to work. So there's a lot of control and power that those running the internet, particularly at Google, have. And if they are choosing to side against the working class here and with the government, we have a dangerous union and or marriage of power and or influence, because what they're trying to now totally cut off any and all forms of funding a otherwise peaceful movement and or protest against government overreach. So that's my video. Just wanted to make that announcement out there. Hopefully GiveSendGo is back up and running soon and or a light gets shown as to what caused this error, who was behind it. Was it really nefarious or was it really just an actual technical mistake? I believe it was actually hacked. This is too much of a coincidence, and I'm not really one to believe in coincidence to begin with anyway. The fact that this happened to just GiveSendGo just a few hours, again, less than 24 hours after Justin Trudeau declared emergency orders and or actions to be taken and trying to legally expand their money laundering definitions and or acts of terrorism to encompass what GiveSendGo is trying to do to help get the money to these peaceful protesters where it belongs and or where people have been donating to. So that's my video. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Again, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, comment on this video. This is Bruce the Boss, and I'm out. Peace.